Welcome to the Deep Six podcast, where we make a generational impact on you and yours. What we do here is explore a 6-point model into your health, your life, and your journey while you're here. So let's dive deep and help you thrive, not just survive. Well, welcome. Thank you again for joining us on another segment here of the Deep Six. I have a unbelievable guest. I'm so excited because I know him very well and he's done wonders for me personally. But he is basically an entrepreneurial master. I'm going to embarrass you.
I'll take that.
You know that? I'm going to embarrass you. But no, Stu Wolff. I have Stu Wolff here, which is he's the chair of Tiger 21. He's a implementer for a global entrepreneurial coaching, if you will, company called EOS Global or Worldwide. And he is actually our business implementer for our practice. And that took a lot of arm twisting, not by you, but by Gino Wickman, who is the inventor, creator of EOS. I didn't listen to him. You know that for years. But Stu, thank you so much for joining us because you bring a lot to the table. I know you don't think you do in this space, but you do. You really do. But thank you for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about your bio because, you know, I know it now. I never knew it before.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I mean? Because like even when we started working together, it's Gino endorsed you. We talked on the phone, right? And it was like, all right, when do we meet? When do we get together? So, let me read your bio just so and tell me I don't want to mess anything up here. But I know you're the chair of Tiger 21, and you've done that for
about 5 years.
About 5 years. You've been in the food service industry for over 32 years. You were and built a successful, scaling, building, selling Wolff Group.
Wolff Group.
Yeah, and you sold it to Acosta.
Yeah.
And that's one of the largest, if not the largest, North American sales agency.
Correct.
Marketing agency. Today, though, you're a certified implementer and an EOS implementer business coach. I think that really actually doesn't do that service, that name. And I'll tell Gino one day. But actually, no, but it's what people, and we'll explain what an implementer is, but you've lived it. You've lived that experience. And so you can really, really mentor people in anything. You know, I think that is in the business world or coaching world and that I think that's so important. But you coach small-sized to mid-sized business owners and their leadership teams to help them achieve what they want out of their business. You're an honorary professor at Michigan State University, College of Business and School of Hospitality Management. You were recognized in 2015 as the MSU Alumni of the Year. I can't say that. I'm on staff there, but they haven't done that to me.
One of these days.
Yeah. And you and your wife established the Stuart G. and Elizabeth S. Wolff Endowment for Hospitality and Business Students. How cool is that? And you and your wife have 2 children, Aaron and Josh, and reside in Birmingham, and I know a lot in Florida, too. Yeah. That's nice, right? Snowbird. You got to be a snowbird.
Love it.
Yeah. So did I do well with that?
You got it. You nailed it.
Yeah. So but here's the thing is, and I don't know this, when we met and you started helping us in our business and me understanding kind of what, which by the way, was for us, it was controlling our chaos. It wasn't like we were looking at that time to like, let's grow and we need to make more money. And it was just like, I have a medical practice that's growing and doing good stuff. And I love what we do and passionate about what we do, but it's getting a little chaotic and a little, you know what I mean? Do you hear that much?
Oh, yeah. That's a very typical reason why an owner of a business is looking for help because they typically can grow it to a certain point and then they either get stuck or it gets so chaotic it's hard to manage.
Yeah.
So they're looking for, hey, how do I take it to the next level?
Yeah. And I think the next level, like for a lot of people, at least for us, and what I understood, which was a misunderstanding when I listened to Gino and, read some things and understood what EOS was it was just about growth, and growth is key, but it's also like harnessing what you have and managing it. And so you don't lose yourself in the business.
Yeah, I have clients And just for clarity, EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it is what Gino Wickman developed here in the Detroit area. And I have several clients. They're not looking for scale of growth and revenue. What they're looking for is to help run their business better, have the right people, and have a more profitable organization. So it's not all about top line growth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I always, we'll get into more of that, but I always have a quote I start, and I'd like to get your feedback on this. It'll resonate, don't worry. But, and this is by someone unknown, but we don't determine our future, we determine our habits, and that determines our future. Thoughts?
Yeah. So our habits create what we do, and what we do impacts results, impacts our life. So if we can, and habits can be changed, but it takes learning and discipline. Remember?
For sure.
So yeah, that resonates really well in the sense that, what whatever we get used to doing, we get comfortable with and feel that's the best way to do it for ourselves until others help to educate, or you learn other avenues and other ways that can have a big impact for you in your life, in your business, relationships, et cetera.
Yeah. What's interesting is, for me in this, when I read it, it's really resonated with me. And I think you know me well enough to know that, I'm all about growth and moving forward, and personally, in the family, professionally, emotionally, everything. But it was like, you don't think about that you got to create habits, and you got to, and I steal this from Gino, and, but his book Traction, but and it gets you traction, even though that maybe wasn't your intent, and then all of a sudden, like, the success in the things that, like, maybe you've dreamt of, and you said this actually, I don't know how many years ago. How many years been working with you?
It's been at least 3 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's a little more than that, but that's good, because that means I haven't worn on you too heavy.
No, not at all.
I mean, so you're not like, oh, you guys have been with us for 7 years.
No.
No, but it is that, you can think these, you said this, a term like this, these big, hairy, audacious goals and ideas. Don't be afraid of them. We just have to start creating some discipline and habits, and, and keep going, and all of a sudden they start happening. And early on in that process, and that, you could say that in life too, you don't see it that way. It's like, okay, I'm going to the gym to lose weight, you know what I mean? But if you stick with that, and studies show this, we know this, people live longer and healthier,
Absolutely.
But it's got to be habitual.
Yeah. I mean, think about our core values. So, we identify what are the unique core values, for example, at Longevity Health. And, but those core values are really behaviors. And if we start to build on those behaviors consistently, not just with you and not just with the leadership team, but with the rest of your teammates at Longevity Health, it has an impact, and that impacts your patients.
Hugely.
Yeah, so those are behaviors that when we continue to practice them and get more disciplined with them, it impacts others.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. I've noticed you'll say 3 years, I'll say 5.
Could be. Let's settle on 4.
Yeah, we'll catch you in the middle. But I'll say 100% our culture's better. And it wasn't bad before, but it's way better. Our happiness with our leadership team and our staff. And we hear even more and more. We've always heard good feedback and good stuff, but it's like good energy. You're putting habitual energy into something good, and all of a sudden it's like, and it does affect the patients. I mean, it really affects the patients. You agree to I can't imagine going, my family or my mother, we were talking just about family before we went on air here, about going to a medical office and not having a warm feeling and a good feeling, and like, hey, I'm going to walk out of here heard and feeling better and all that. And that's what happens. And it becomes easy because it's habitual,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this quote from Simon Sinek. And I'll put it into your terms. Your patients will only love coming to your organization as will only love you as much as your employees love coming there.
Yeah.
And so it has a deep impact for everyone.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So tell me this, how did you get, or where did it come up that you, from the food industry, you know, from which you had built, and it was 32 years, was that right? To decide, or like what drove you to decide, like, hey, it's time to leave, or it's time to exit, and then you thinking you're going to be an implementer, or how did that happen?
Yeah. So I'll go back to about 2006. I was growing my business. I had a business partner on the west side of the state in Grand Rapids. Our business got stuck. We hit a ceiling. Somebody in a peer group of other business owners had told me about Gino and of EOS, and basically hit me on the chest and said, "You need EOS." I had no clue what it was.
Right.
Met with Gino. I literally was shaking in my seat, saying, "This is exactly what I needed." And so by building and working with Gino, building and growing and scaling our business, I look back and I say, boy, I just think of all the wonderful things, but it was hard.
Oh yeah.
It was stressful. It was, it took its toll. But we got through the tunnel, saw the light, and then it became fun. And then I really enjoyed it. But we grew our business to a certain scale. And it was at that point we had made the decision and the view that our industry was going to consolidate. So we were probably 5 years ahead of the curve. And we were actually looking to nationalize our business because we felt our industry was very fragmented, from single market to then regional, and we had our eyes on a national model. And it was at that point when we were trying to build a national model is when the industry then started to consolidate. So we, at that point, had about 5 years into running our business on EOS. So we were set up perfectly. I can't say that too often, but we were set up perfectly to either try to take the business national or end up selling to a large other national entity.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what I ended up doing. We had one of the things that I learned, and that we talked about a little bit so far, are core values. So when I was looking at other brokers like myself in other parts of the country, I wasn't looking for how we aligned from a manufacturer alignment standpoint. I was looking strictly on a core value standpoint. If our core values align, this can work. We can figure out the others.
Yeah, for sure.
And what happened was some of the national organizations started buying up those companies I identified as the right fit for us. Once I realized that, I figured I just made the decision we're better off selling to one of the national, because it would be too hard to put the entire nation together.
Yeah, you compete and all that. And absolutely, for sure.
And it was a big change, selling the business.
Scary.
Not at the time, but after. It was a very different experience.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to speak on that a bit, because I'm writing a book right now. I think you know that, and one of my chapters is kind of around this, and this is a harsh way of saying it, but and this wasn't retirement, but it was kind of like a exit and with growing something in your career. And I really believe this. I probably said it on the air already, but about how men, we're hunter-gatherers, our prefrontal cortex is very driven to be like reward-based, and it's fulfilling, purposeful. And whether it's good or bad or whatever, when you retire or sell or exit something, I've heard this many times through patients, so it's pretty easy to write a chapter on this in the book, but it's like they're empty, they're lost a bit. Did you find yourself that way?
So this might sound very weird, but it took 6 months until after I sold the business that it hit me that I sold the business.
Did you go to the door and actually they changed the locks?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. It was, I was basically at that point, I was in charge of the Midwest region, which is what my business was anyway. So I already, had a handle on our market.
Yeah.
We were profitable. We were humming. Things were going well. And then I realized, okay, we went from being 165 employees into a 40,000 employee organization.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And when it really hit me was I sold April 1st. It was October of that year that they came down with this edict. Okay, everyone needs to cut everyone's salary needs to be reduced by 10%. Why do we need to reduce our salary? We're exceeding profit margins, everything. Made no sense to me. Mm-hmm. But then I realized I didn't have control anymore. Mm-hmm. I was not the decision maker. And that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
At the same time, and this is going to sound weird too, my dog, we ended up having to put down. He was really sick. And it was literally within a week of all this that happened. And I ended up going to see a therapist because I really was depressed. Mm-hmm. And she helped bring the things together, the loss. It brought me back to when I was a kid. I was 10 years old. And my 6-year-old sister died of leukemia.
Oh,
and what she helped me realize was I'm feeling that sense of loss again.
For sure.
And here it was, and it just brought it back. Yeah. And so helped me get through that.
Yeah.
But it was scary.
Oh, yeah.
And it was not easy.
Yeah, yeah.
Once I, became aware of what was going on, that was helpful. Mm-hmm. And so mental health plays a major part in this.
For sure, for sure. And what I was sharing with you was many times I have stories like that. And almost meaning where there's a depression feeling, there's such an apathy that they lose interest in everything.
Yeah. And
it's very real. And then you, unfortunately, had a very emotional thing with a pet, basically a family member. I always look at we're dog lovers and have pets in our homes. And so it's, that's the loss of those are just so tough. And at the same time, you know.
It just kind of hit me all at once. Mm-hmm. And in Tiger 21, I deal with this with some of my members. So Tiger 21 is a peer-to-peer learning group of high net worth individuals. And, some people think, well, gee, if you have money, then you don't have problems.
Yeah.
But everyone
Usually they're bigger.
Everyone has issues and problems.
Yeah.
And it's meant to, and again, I chair the group, so I facilitate it. I brought the group together. I lead and manage the monthly meetings. But these are, a lot of times we have members. I have members in my group that had some kind of a transaction take place with their business. So they exited out of the business. They sold the business. They feel like really good. Okay. Mm-hmm. But then they feel empty.
Yeah.
Now what do I do?
Right.
Why do I wake up every day when I have nothing to really do?
Right.
So it's a real issue. Tiger 21 did a couple of articles on life after selling your business. Mm-hmm. And I was in both the articles and it with some other Tiger 21 members, and it's a real thing. And everyone on the outside thinks, they've got it made.
Oh, no, yeah.
But you lose your identity.
Yeah, one of my patients comes to mind where his wife and son had reached out to me because the husband and he had sold his business, and he was so fractured. He didn't see it. You know, I mean, he didn't. And of course, just like you said, 3 months, 6 months, he's in Florida, he's traveling, he's enjoying things as you should. And he was really on a, I think, just kind of done working. He was just tired of the grind, call it. But he became highly anxious, like almost obsessive in certain ways of thinking. And they're calling me, and you got to help him because he's losing his mind. I mean, that was not like him at all.
Mm-hmm.
Very sound, very focused, very, get up, go to work, be with family, driven, if you will, that kind of stuff. And it was a big deal. It took me, the crazy part is he wouldn't go to a therapist. So you're looking at him. Uh-huh. I'm the therapist, which I don't play one, but I was trying to just listen. This is real. And we got to and I don't mind, coaching a little bit on this, but you need a purpose. You need to get up. You need to talk to people. Because what happens, people shut down. When you don't feel good, what do? You shut down. Mm-hmm. And then it gets darker. And then, it's just that the space is really ugly. But I think it's actually even more common than we even hear and think. Now, you see it because you're in that industry and you're coaching, so you hear it all the time. But I think it's pretty much given. It's almost like, in the exit strategy, there needs to be a counselor or like a psychologist checking in.
Yeah, you don't think about it, but it's a big deal after. Mm-hmm. And for some people, it happens right away. They feel it. Others, it could be a year or two down the road. Yeah. But when it hits you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So tell me then, how'd you transition then from obviously that industry in your cell and then becoming an implementer,
So,
which is a coach, which is basically.
So one of the things I learned as I would, at Michigan State University, I would guest lecture there. Probably did it before selling for the last 15 years, and I loved it. I realized I really enjoyed that aspect. Yeah. I never knew I did. And I realized also as I was growing and scaling the business, EOS changed my life. Mm-hmm. Had an impact on my employees, had an impact on my family. And so it was something that was literally to the core of me that I believed in. And so as I was ahead of, before I exited from Acosta, for about a year to 2 years before that, was trying to figure out what's my next chapter. Because what I did not want to, what I was trying to avoid was going from 100 miles an hour down to 5 miles an hour. Right. The thought of that scared the hell out of me. Mm-hmm. So in talking to Gino, talking to other people, I really felt that becoming an EOS implementer really helped fit me because it's something I believed in, I'm passionate about, I know the impact it can have on somebody and their employees and their family, and I enjoyed the teaching aspect of it, and I lived it.
Yeah, I was going to say you lived it. So
I experienced it from every angle.
Yeah,
and I love being around other business people. I love that. So I love helping others. Mm-hmm. That was something I actually really enjoyed in running my business was the impact that my business had on each of our employees and their families. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I can now do this in a different way,
right.
Just really rang true to who I am at the core.
Yeah.
And so it's been an incredible experience for me.
Yeah.
So I've had so many people say, well, don't you wish you did this earlier in your life?
Be an implementer?
Yeah. Why didn't you sell the business or get out earlier? And I'm like, you know what? I just really do believe everything happens for a reason, and that's part of my journey, and I have no regrets beforehand. I have no regrets where I'm at, and I'm just continuing that journey.
Yeah. And I love that. But you lived it, and that always helps, because when you've lived it, it's easy to teach it. You can read the book, you can follow the manuals, you can be, certified in it. But when you've lived it, it's a very different story, and you really lived it.
I did
for 32 years.
and when we were working with Gino, was our EOS Implementer and business coach for 8+ years. And I still remember to this day.
I can't afford him, by the way. Oh. I'd still keep
that
you.
That means maybe I should raise my rate.
Stu, I'm definitely keeping you. Don't worry.
But I still remember in our second session, we got to core values. And I really didn't understand what core values were. And I said to Gino, we don't need to spend any time on this. We just have 42 employees. We don't need core values. Right. So he helped set me straight.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Got to really understand what core values are and the impact. And my core value speech is in the book Traction. Mm-hmm. It's something I'm really proud about. Yeah. Had no idea that was going to be the case, but so that really resonated with me deeply.
Yeah.
The people part of of any business is so important, and so I really hone in on that.
Yeah, for sure. I find this interesting today. Literally before I came here, seeing patients. A gentleman, he's in a lot of the real estate and brokerage and stuff like that. And it just made me think of this right now, because he was telling me how people and customers and customer service right now is so complicated. It's so difficult right now. It's just changed. It's a changing world. Everything changes. And we I get to know my patients a lot. We're sitting there, having some banter before we start talking about health. And it really surprised me that in his world, even where you're just kind of sitting behind numbers, they're crunching numbers, making connections, etc., that he noticed it. Do you notice this almost in every business now, like the whole culture, as far as whether it's you're the customer, so customer service, and you hear, or or you're the business, that the people are getting lost.
Absolutely. I've really seen a big change since COVID.
Yeah.
That seemed to have a big dynamic change on work ethic. People want to now work from home, not work in an office environment, finding other avenues to make money as opposed to coming to their kind of traditional job.
Yeah.
And it has been a huge issue for, I can't think of a client it hasn't had an impact on. Yeah. But if they can try to stick to their core roots and try to continue to find those people that have that work ethic.
Yeah, I think it's just a little more complicated now.
It's
That's
definitely.
What we notice. It's we have wonderful employees. It's just harder to find. And it's harder for them to understand our passion of those core values for us and for the patients. And that's going to sound like, really, how's it that hard? Well, because at the end of the day, there's just there's this work ethic, I think you said, and there's this connection to, there's something about fulfillment when you make something, when you make money, but when you provide or make something. Somewhere in that, since COVID, I've noticed that too. It's just we're lost a little bit there, where it's we're not living necessarily for others, which brings full fulfillment, happiness. We're living for what's this? What's always in this for me, and what's always in this at the bottom line, which doesn't necessarily bring health, which I always talk about, and happiness.
Absolutely.
So
there's a different mindset. Not that I agree with it, but there's a different mindset, and just the level of customer service is dropped so dramatically that if you can find the right people to live out what your expectations, you can set yourself apart so differently from others.
Yeah.
by just providing really good service, because it's not a norm today.
It is absolutely not a norm. And even, medically, obviously that's my space. So there's things that happen now in good doctors' offices. I know the doctors, I know the practices for decades. It blows my mind, blows my mind. I mean, I had just a month or so ago, a patient text me and I need you to go over my mammogram. I'm really a little bit nervous. My OB-GYN called me. Somebody called me from the office and they didn't, give me too many details. Then I called back. The doctor wasn't there, but they're obviously concerned. And can you look at it and explain what you're seeing? Because no one's getting back to me. So I, of course, I'll get on and I'll see. I didn't order the test. So, I had to do some work, and I got it. And obviously within maybe 12 hours, I talked to her. I saw her weeks later, no one from the office even, or doctor or anything. She called again. No one ever, and they were even rude, she said to her. Like when she called a couple times, like, we're leaving your message. Like, hey, leave us alone. We're talking about her health. You ordered the test. Your staff called and alarmed her, yet nobody, they just dropped the ball then, It's just, but it's not acceptable, but it's the norm now.
It's the norm.
It is the norm.
And it's a sad thing. Now I'm just so appreciative if an electrician shows up.
I'm sorry to laugh because it happened to me this week. So that's why I'm laughing.
It's like I'm really appreciative.
Yeah. And they made an appointment. They actually came.
Yeah. just that's a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because my expectations are so low now. That I'm just thrilled if somebody comes.
Yeah. I will tell you, though, that where the companies, and I feel like, why am I telling you? You should be telling me. But the companies that are rising above and searching for these people and, treating them right and building culture and these things are going to thrive. And these stores, these businesses, these industries, because someone I know really well owns many, many, many businesses. He's gobbling them up, and that's his big thing. His big number one thing is we will provide, whether it's plumbing, electrical, HVAC, a building industry, you name it. They will be customer service because he knows it's horrible, and they're killing it in everything.
Yeah, it can be such a point of difference now, but you have to have patience to find the right people and grow at the right speed to support that. Because just takes one person that can have a really negative impact
100%
on an experience.
Yeah. You did an analogy, and I don't say this in tongue-in-cheek or crass, so I take this very serious, but it's actually very, very accurate in this analogy is because we were talking about this probably a couple of years ago in our office, but you said like that one person could be like a cancer. So all it takes is one cell, one rogue cell, become 5, become 10, become 20.
Yep.
Okay. You don't need a whole massive effect on your body to develop a tumor. And the reality is that does happen in businesses all the time, and it's tolerated. And next thing you know, it's metastatic.
Yep. Exactly.
You told me that.
It does, because
you told me that, Doc.
If you, it is. I always use the analogy. It's like a cancer. If you know you have a cancer in your body and you do nothing, it will continue to spread and hurt you.
Yep.
Just like you have an employee that you know does not belong there, their attitude is going to spread and they will hurt you.
Yeah.
And if you don't do anything, if you don't extract that person or that cancer out, you're dealing with more issues down the road.
Yeah. One thing I love, and it's an exercise in EOS, and it's rings so true. And believe it or not, I've used it in my family. Not getting rid of them, by the way. You're supposed to laugh, Stu. Not getting rid of the person in my family.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
I've used this exercise of the right person in the right seat, and that's actually happened. Meaning, it's just maybe they're just not comfortable in what they're doing. Maybe they honor the core values. Maybe they're working hard. You name it, but they're just in the wrong seat. And you make that pivot, and in the business, and all of a sudden, whoa, things are all better too. So that's really been impactful for us too. I've used it literally in my family where it was just like our approach to something was, that's not their forte. They're not thriving one of my kids, just, in that space. So let's try something different, because the effort's there. Or
Right.
It made a big difference.
Absolutely. And, that's, you have a 6-point model.
Yep. The deep six.
Yeah. There you go. We have, in EOS, we have our 6 key components, and the people component is one of those keys. And it is all about having right people in the right seats. And I tell every one of my clients, if you just focus on that one and commit to that, life's much easier. You'll get where you want to go quicker, faster, better, and you'll enjoy the time and that journey.
Yeah.
It's when you have people that don't fit or can't do their job well, and we let them thrive and stay on, that brings the level down for every employee.
Yeah.
And the people you end up losing aren't the mediocre people. You lose your best people because they're saying, well, if you're letting them survive, this isn't the place for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's not a good feel.
No.
I love having fun.
Yeah, I know that.
You've noticed. So even at work, I make work kind of fun, and I make them laugh. I think all the employees think I'm kind of a little bit, like crazy, but they know in the rooms of the patients I'm not. But they also like it's that feel, and they and when that's not there, and where we've had somebody that's been toxic and it's been extracted, all of a sudden everything gets lighter, and everyone's happier and laughing and smiling and talking more and treating each other better, including our patients.
Yeah. It's so simple, yet it seems so challenging.
Yeah.
Finding people that just want to enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
And be happy and courteous.
Yeah.
Yet it's not easy.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. No, for sure. So a little shift in gears is this. So if you don't mind, you work with, all these small to medium businesses and coach them and that. What would you say is one of the most challenging or kind of what's, one of the things you're seeing besides this people person? Is there something kind of, regardless of the industry, that you're seeing more, in 2024?
I would say people have a hard time having tough conversations. Just being real, open, honest, and direct with people. And it's gotten tougher because there's a fear factor. And when we make decisions out of fear, we're not making decisions that are the best for the greater good of the company. But the fear factor is, well, if I have this tough conversation with this person, well, they might leave. Now we don't have people to fill that role.
Yeah.
So it's holding back people from, but in order to be a great leader and a great manager, we need to be able to have those tough conversations. Yeah. And it's I'd say it's become a bigger issue in the last couple of years to help coach people.
Yeah.
My answer isn't always get rid of them.
Right.
My answer is, can we coach them up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If not, we got to coach them out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But what I'm seeing consistently is fear of having those discussions.
Yeah, it's interesting. It reminds me of this quote, and this quote I love is, everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true, because if we just push through and let's just be honest, be direct, be kind, but just you'll typically get what you want. You just have to,
fear is very powerful, and it's very real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it holds us back from getting what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. So also, if you don't mind, you already shared something actually is pretty, powerful in the sense of also being vulnerable. And I think I appreciate that, because our viewers, this is about growth. Our podcast, the Deep Six, is really about, sometimes we talk about hormones and vitamins and, all that, but we talk about growth. The bottom line is evolving, getting stronger, getting better, learning things, introspection. But do you mind sharing with us something that you've struggled with, whether it's physically, or psychologically, it sounds like, you already did a little bit with your when you pseudo retired turn the chapter. But one of any struggles that have, been tough for you, not just in life, but life, business, and everything, family.
Well, so I mentioned to you when I was 10 years old, my sister died. And when that happened, at least in my family, we never talked about it.
Yeah.
Never talked about Jill.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize the impact it had on me till probably around the age of 20. And I met who's my wife now, Liz, and her mom was going through cancer, illness, and was very ill. And it was at that point, it's the first time I've actually had broken down and talked to somebody else about that loss. And so I never dealt with emotions like that before, and never dealt with, kind of ties into it. In my family, no one ever said, I never heard the words, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And I never heard them until I started to hang out with Liz's family.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they were insane because every time
Felt a little weird.
Yeah, it was so weird. They kept saying how much, I love you. They on the phone, they say goodbye, I love you. I'm like, what is the deal with all this?
Yeah. They were oozing love.
Oozing love. And I never heard or felt that before. So that was a real struggle for me. Mm-hmm. And it definitely held me back from connecting with other people. Mm-hmm. I ended up I went into therapy for a while because I kind of isolated myself because I don't think I trusted other people.
Yeah.
And so I kept a lot in. Mm-hmm. And that therapy really helped me process a lot.
Right.
Even my parents and all those things.
Yeah. Well, we get so imprinted too, and when we're younger, so you were 10, mm-hmm. And you're not even aware of it, but you're
right.
It's the norm. You only know what you know, and that was
my norm.
That was your norm. You know what I mean? And your wife's family was, aliens saying
right.
I love you and having emotions and speaking and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I can definitely I can visualize some of that being kind of tough, but it's tough stuff. My stepmother, Chrissy, she raised me since about 12, and she lost a sister to lightning at 16. At 16 on a lake here in Michigan, in Wixom. And she really didn't similar, She was, I think, 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. And it, after the trauma of it, obviously very traumatic because of how that happened, her mom and dad and that, but then it did become for the parents, and she didn't really start processing it, very similar to you, till later. And it was really, really, really hard for her. In fact, it led her down some paths that she wouldn't have until she got perspective on, the whole thing and how impactful it was. But I think it's we don't realize, but when our childhood, our formative years, there's a thing in your brain called theta waves. We get imprinted all these experiences and they become our norm, but they set this foundation that isn't always serving to us as we evolve as grown-ups and as humans and stuff. Mm-hmm. So the best gift you ever give yourself is therapy. And you did that, you did that. You probably wouldn't, and I know I'm being very, direct or very, but forthgoing, but you probably wouldn't have got into EOS and got in and done so well in your business and been able to understand core values and be, emotionally intelligent in your business and all that stuff.
I wouldn't have been able to really have any deep relationships.
Yeah.
Because I kept everything. I mean, that's all I knew from my parents was just a surface relationship. Yeah. I never knew anything deeper than that. Yeah. So it definitely held me back for a while in my life. Mm-hmm. And And I think, when you are dealing with trauma like that, it can lead you into a lot of different addictions.
For sure.
To numb yourself.
Absolutely.
And my way of numbing myself was I was just put myself into my business all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know any different. And but I was missing out. It impacted my relationship with my wife. Definitely impacted my relationship with my kids. And through that therapy helped me try to get more of a harmony in my life. Mm-hmm. And it took some time because I just wanted to numb the pain that was there from the inside.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad you did that. I mean, because God bless you that, everything's about balance and even our deep 6, our 6-point model. I mean, one of them is like the mind-body connection. And we talk a lot about that because it's one of the hardest things. Mm-hmm. It's easy to balance a hormone or tell somebody how to, as long as they're compliant, eat better, let's fix your gut and make sure, things are in order. It's very painful to deal with traumas and to do therapy and to be insightful and to not point fingers, but to take responsibility and, stuff like that. So, So you want to lighten it up a bit? Should we lighten it up just a little bit? Okay, so I have this book. This book. I think I shared this with you, but you have not looked at this book.
No, I have not.
So I always do this segment, and this segment is really, really simple, but it's a little bizarre. But this book is my. If I read something, it's a quote. If it's science, it could be psychological. It could be a book I'm reading. Something that just hits me. But actually, sometimes there's a song. And it's for years. I got 2 of these actually. So go this page, pick randomly something and ask me it, or what the heck, Doc, what does this mean? What the heck is this?
Okay, and I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah. And by the way, one guest before was cooking through that, and he goes, I don't know, but I got to ask you a question about hemorrhoids. And I go, all right, if that's what we're going to do.
Is that in the book here?
Probably not. I think I got a little bit deeper stuff than hemorrhoids in there, but
Okay, so what is this about brain weight? 3 pounds and burns 20% metabolic function.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here, let me just because I know I can read doctor writing better than you, but it says the brain weighs 3 pounds and burns greater than 20% of metabolic function energy. Insulin is produced in the brain cells because it's at a high metabolic rate. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that you burn. That's why people lose weight. It's one of the reasons why people lose weight with stress. Now, people gain weight with stress because of, habitual. We want dopamine. We want to feel good. So drink or eat.
I'm an eater.
Yeah, it's all but it's the same thing. It's you're like, let me numb that pain. But the brain is a huge, huge metabolic component of the body. That's why when you get hypoglycemic a bit, you get all, weird. You kind of get edgy, you get moody. I think we've all had it a little bit. And, but yeah, the brain's very, very metabolic, and there's insulin actually produced in the brain cells. Okay. And it's what's interesting about, not to sidetrack on this, but about brain cancer. It's one of the reasons why brain cancer is so difficult is because it's so highly metabolic, and cancer is a metabolic system. So when there's something going on, a cancer cell lives, thrives in sugar and insulin, and opens it up the cells, and more sugar gets in. And long story short is it's like very hard to target that metabolic thing in the brain. So it's why brain cancer is typically very terminal. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. That was wow. You went to like a pretty heavy one there. A lot of times there's light stuff in there.
At the Tiger 21 Global Exchange this past February, they had a doctor speak on brain health. Yeah. I found it fascinating.
Oh,
and talked about how important sleep is to brain health, and something that Liz and I have incorporated is to try and learn something new. So we started taking a painting class.
Love it.
And I'm like,
she's better than you.
Oh, she's totally better.
I just know that.
But I'm like so focused and trying to, it's really interesting because we've been to three classes so far.
That's cool. That's really cool.
That's
Victoria, my wife, would love that. She would love that.
Oh,
so yeah. So I won't tell her.
Oh,
Because
okay.
she would be like, we're going painting tonight, honey.
It's kind of a cool thing.
No, I'm joking. I think it sounds amazing. Actually, we've believe it or not, we've painted together. We've actually done that on dates before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like a wall or?
No, yeah, spray paint. Yeah, we go down Detroit. We go out to dinner. No, we've literally gone to like they have this. It's called Painted Pot or something like that. It's in downtown Rochester. Yeah, and after dinner we've done that, and it's actually fun. Paint something, paint a whatever, a bowl or something like that. It's kind of cool, but. No, that's great. Yeah, the brain's very neuroplastic. We call it. It's a lot. You can rewire. I mean, you can rewire the brain very effectively with something like painting or some of these therapies that you're using a motor function and the brain, and you're stimulating it. And so there's a lot of neuroplasticity to the brain. So
you also talked about eating certain foods that are better for your brain as well. So I just found it fascinating. So when I saw brain in there, I honed in on it.
Oh, yeah. I will tell you this, though, because I'm going to tell you the mistake I see. Everybody wants the supplement for the brain. Everybody wants the omega-3. All that's legit. It's well studied, for the brain. Do these things, whatever. You know what the thing that's missed the most? And it's so basic. But I don't even get, and why in medicine we don't value this, is you need blood for your brain. So your carotids, okay? The circulation to your brain. Do you know that there's not one screening test for circulation to your brain?
Wow.
They'll do a carotid Doppler on somebody after a stroke, or they'll do a carotid, it's an ultrasound, okay, for plaque and all that. Somebody's 70, 80, 90. Oh, I heard something, the doc listens in your neck. They hear what we call bruit. You're over 50, you got a carotid Doppler in my office, everybody. And the reason is because that is how you're circulating your brain. Now, you're not going to have a stroke till you have plaque to about 70, 80% in one of your common carotids or bifurcations of the carotids and that internal carotid, cerebral arteries, etc. But the crazy part is you would not believe what we find, 30%, 40% all the time. So it's plumbing. Let's just, okay, if you don't correct that and work on that, it's no different than your heart. What do we get when we don't do that with our heart? Not just a heart attack, we get heart failure. Okay, it's a weak heart. We get a weak brain. And now I'm making it sound so basic, but it is sometimes that basic. It's like, we got to work on your circulation in your brain. Now, what helps that? Obviously, diet, weight loss, exercise, blood flow to the brain. That's why after exercise, not just dopamine and these neurotransmitters that turn us on, it's actually blood flow. It's like, hey, I'm circulating my neurons a lot better. But the other big thing is just having that appreciation for it, because we don't think that way. So, you know what I mean? So that's what I find fascinating, because we find stuff and we find people don't even address it.
I've never heard that addressed before about the carotid.
Well,
usually it's after
a stroke, and then they're looking for like 80, 90%, which they don't even do surgery, by the way, unless you're about 80%. 60, 70, they'll just put you on a med, put you on a blood thinner. It's still there. You're not circulating well, and you're a stroke risk. But it's just, it's a way of thinking. It's a philosophy of thinking, but it's actually very accurate. That it's common sense. Common sense. I'll share this with you too, because you'll find, since you're interested in the brain, which we all should be, because dementia's on the rise and all that. Just came out, approved, just started using in the office. There is a blood test. It's called beta amyloid 42/40 ratio. This ratio of blood test, we actually can predict within 3 to 5 years the onset of dementia.
Really?
By a blood test.
Wow.
Covered by insurance. Yep. So we can screen you, and if you fall under this ratio, doesn't mean you have dementia right now. It means the likelihood in 3 to 5 years you will develop a mild or some cognitive impairment is likely. Now, what do we do about that?
That's what I was just going to ask.
We dig deep. I mean, we don't. First of all, it wakes people up. You only know what you know, and when you know it, that's when people say, "Whoa, what do you mean I'm a diabetic?" People, you get a blood test. That people wake up. So you start doing lifestyle stuff. There are some supplementation, lifestyle things, circulation, like we talked about, high fats for the brain. There's a lot of things you can do for the brain. Molecular hydrogen, oxygen. I mean, I can, a lot of stuff. But I mean, the point is, you wait till somebody's got some impairment, you're behind the 8 ball, So that's wonderful. That just came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, and very important for CEOs and entrepreneurs to have a good brain.
Absolutely.
So, well, hey, Stu, thank you so much. It's been fun, and appreciate all your insight, your experience. I know all our team loves you, and my wife especially. She's jealous she's not here. But you do wonders for us. Our business has never been better. And I don't mean just successful financially. I mean never been sounder, happier, culturally, and it's fun. It's fun. It makes things fun and all that. So I appreciate that and appreciate you. And I know you're doing that for many other companies. So that's awesome. So anyway.
Glad to hear that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Stu Wolff, thank you again. This is Dr. Lewerenz from the Deep Six Podcast. Thanks for joining us once again, where we help you thrive and not just survive.